Medina City Schools, we do have a lot to be proud of. We've done a lot in the way of energy conservation. We did an energy efficiency improvement project back in 2008, and at that time our school district consists of 10 buildings. We have about 1.2 million square feet of space that we occupy. We went through the entire district and upgraded, changed out old ballasts and bulbs to high efficiency ballasts and bulbs. That was over 12,000 fixtures that we touched. We updated our lighting controls around the district so that we can manage our parking lot and security lighting in the evenings, so we can turn it off when we don't need it because we don't have events. We've updated and installed new air handlers in some of our elementaries like Garfield, Fenn, and Heritage. We did that in an effort to, of course, better our air quality in the building, but also to save energy with newer units. In this building, we put in variable frequency drives, which basically, instead of motors running full steam, we were able to dial back the motors so they're not using as much power in an effort to save energy. In fact, when I look at our energy report, which you can see on our website, it shows that we save approximately $400,000 a year just from that project alone. So with that in mind, we've also looked into alternative energy projects. Renewable energy, that's kind of the buzzword. Get a lot of pressure from community and folks to look at those type of green projects. We looked at wind turbines, we looked at solar solutions, looked a little bit at geothermal, but that didn't make sense because we weren't really building any buildings. What we found though was that without those devices or solutions being donated, they really do not have a great return on investment. So we looked at, like, solar, for example, was 28 years, but by the time that we would get back our initial investment in savings, it would take 28 years. We looked at wind, putting up a wind turbine, which is very expensive, and we found that that was 20 years. And in fact, with the wind turbine, the unit would pretty much be at its life expectancy at 20 years, so you would just start over. So it's a net zero game. It wouldn't be anything worth considering. So with Brewer-Garrett's help, we've looked at other solutions, and this is, I'm not going to say it's bleeding edge because it's not. It's a proven solution as far as renewable energy. It's a cogeneration plant, and I have these experts here to kind of talk the details of it, but we've spent a lot of time investigating it, talking to other users of it, verifying their facts and figures. This unit will pay for itself in 8 years. And it's a green project. It doesn't take up a whole lot of floor space, as you're going to see, and it's really a great solution for us. And what makes it a great solution for Medina City Schools is that we have a rec center attached, and thanks for being here, Mayor. The City of Medina runs this rec center that's attached to this facility. In there we have 2 pools and a spa. So year-round we have a need for heat. So that's what makes this project so great for us, because during the summer months, the heat is captured to help support that. So with that, I'm going to ask Dave Smith to come over, talk a little bit about the unit itself, and then we have the engineers and experts on hand to answer questions. We'll probably move into that room here momentarily. So again, thanks for coming.
Thank you, John. First, before I get started, I do want to thank Medina City Schools, John Burkhart, the facility staff here at Medina Schools, because of the trust and the goodwill that they have placed in Brewer-Garrett throughout the years, with the partnerships that we have and the number of projects that we've implemented. It's been a pleasure working with Medina City Schools. I think the partnership has been strengthened because of the verification that Brewer-Garrett brings to the table. Verification is very important to the school districts because it allows you to now go back out to your community and to show the community the money that you're investing back into the schools is a wise investment, that there are energy savings and operational savings involved in everything that we do for Medina City Schools. It's also important for Brewer-Garrett to verify these savings because it really validates our intellectual capital. It validates our integrity. And so because the verification process is so important, Brewer-Garrett has the ability to boast of having the largest auditing team in the state of Ohio. We have 10 full-time auditors on staff at Middleburg Heights whose sole job is to understand exactly how our customers' facilities are operating. We review their utility bills on a monthly and annual basis. We review their front-end control systems, their back-end control systems. We have the ability to have a complete understanding of where those energy savings are going to come from. So this really indicated exactly where some additional opportunities could take place for Medina City Schools. As we reviewed the high school's utility bills, as we looked at their square footage, we understood that there was additional opportunity for savings. So our solution was to introduce a combined heat and power plant. And we're going to unveil that solution to you here shortly. But very quickly, let me give you a brief explanation of what combined heat and power, or CHP, is. As you'll notice, it's roughly the size of a small pickup truck. It's connected to the natural gas feed that's coming into the facility. As natural gas runs through the CHP unit, it generates electricity as well as a byproduct called waste heat. And so now we have the opportunity to light and cool 20% of the rec center and the high school based off the cost of natural gas, not off the cost of what your electrical provider is charging you. We also will then use the waste heat to supplement the needed thermal load at the rec center. So in the right applications, when you have year-long need for heat, it's a great technology. It's not a great technology for every owner. What we're essentially doing is putting an electrical power plant on site. And if you've ever had an opportunity to look at larger power plants that are owned by First Energy, AEP, or Duke, one of the things that you'll notice are the stacks that are 20 to 30 stories high. What these stacks are doing is they're exhausting heat, because anytime you generate electricity, you produce that waste heat. Unfortunately for Duke and First Energy, they have no use for that heat, no place to put it. So they simply exhaust it into the atmosphere. What Brewer-Garrett has done is we have captured that heat, and we are using that heat to provide the additional thermal load. Folks, what we are doing here is we are utilizing a cheap fuel source, natural gas, to generate two forms of power, electricity and heat. And so that is where, when you can utilize that heat, it becomes very efficient and sustainable. I don't want to get very much into detail on the design and the engineering. I'm going to leave that up to Eric and Tom. I will introduce them shortly. But I think it's important to note that anytime we design a combined heat and power plant, we're designing it based off of what your thermal load is, not based off of your electrical load. Because if I had the opportunity to use 100% of that heat or somewhere close, the savings can be pretty significant. One last thing I'd like to touch on, and that is the commodity prices or the commodity volatility between KWH and MCF. If you speak to an electrical provider, or you speak to an electrical analyst or an economist, one of the first things that they'll tell you is that the U.S. electrical grid is deteriorating. And there is very little to any money being invested back into the U.S. electrical grid. And that's a problem. 6 years ago, cap and trade was a bill that had been introduced to the Ohio House, or to the U.S. House. Fortunately, that bill was tabled. If it would have passed, Ohio's electrical rates would have gone up 20% overnight. Unfortunately, the EPA has kind of picked up the baton on that, and they are looking to implement some of the statutes that were included in that legislation. One of the most common is the fact that they're looking for electrical providers to move off of coal and move more towards natural gas. KWH is a volatile commodity as opposed to MCF or natural gas. Natural gas, you can't pick up the paper today without reading somewhere in the world a new pool of natural gas being found, or a new technological advancement taking place that are allowing you to get to that natural gas. Matter of fact, if you look at the eastern side of the state with the Utica Shale, 10 years ago we would have never been able to get to that. Today we can because of the technological advancements. So today, Brewer-Garrett is very excited about this opportunity. Medina City School District is very excited about this opportunity, and our hope is that the community will be excited about this opportunity, understanding that the school district is investing their money in sustainability and efficiency as well as cost savings. What I'd like to introduce is two of the engineers that have been very important in this process. The first is Eric Betts. Eric runs our electrical division at Brewer-Garrett, and he also acted as the project manager. And Tom Drake represents W.W. Williams. For you that are not familiar with W.W. Williams, they were founded in 1912. And W.W. Williams is a master distributor of the MTU Energy Solutions products. So what we'd like to do now is really take you back into the CHP plant room, unveil the CHP to you. If you have any technical questions, these are the two gentlemen that can help you out with that. Thank you.
Well, I think for us, it's a renewable energy source for us. It's something that we've been looking at for years and years, as far as looking at wind or solar or geothermal. This was finally a solution that made sense to us because of the return on investment, which we just couldn't get any kind of reasonable return on investment with any other renewable source of energy. And I think what makes Medina City Schools a little unique is that we do have a need for heat year-round, where we have 2 large swimming pools and a spa attached to our building through the rec center. So that's made it a project that really made a lot of sense for our school district.
Cogeneration, we utilize a cheap fuel source, natural gas, to generate 2 forms of power, electricity as well as heat. And so a cogeneration unit is most effective and most efficient, most sustainable when I have the opportunity to utilize the electricity as well as the heat. So we look for areas that have aquatic centers, wastewater treatment plants, industrials that are using heat to melt plastic or melt steel. That is where you're going to get the most efficiency. And so as we looked at Medina's rec center, we understood that they had an aquatic center that had a year-round need for thermal. And so that's how we introduced combined heat and power. It allows us to generate 20% of their electrical need while providing the thermal load that they need for a year-round basis on their aquatic center.
The purpose of the new cogeneration system is to take advantage of natural gas as a stable utility rate and use that fuel to generate both electricity and hot water.
Well, I'm definitely expecting to see cost savings because, as you know, school funding is always an issue in Ohio, and this is definitely a way for us to capture some savings and put those dollars back to use in the classroom where they should be. That's the biggest benefit I'm seeing at this point.
It also benefits the school because it gives them some reliability on their heating and electrical system, so that you're not necessarily relying on your boiler plant to heat the small heating loads you might have on your shoulder months or during the summer.
There's a lot of excitement around this cogeneration unit. We've been talking about it with our community now for well over a year. We've done a couple presentations in front of the Board of Education, which ends up getting televised throughout the community. Had a lot of conversations with different folks in the community about renewable energy, green projects. There's always that desire for the public school districts to look into those options. But you know, it's a balance. You also have to make sure that when you go down that road that you find a project that truly has a return on investment that's respectable, because your business community is going to look at you when you make those decisions to make sure they make sense, dollars and cents wise.
The school district and Brewer-Garrett are estimating a savings of $82,944 annually in electrical costs. Medina City Schools is proud of their efforts in continuing to improve the efficiency of their facilities, which will help them find additional money that can be used to help the education of the students in their district.